Alright, so let's continue, and now we will be saving this form, like all these details about the jobs, inside the Cloud Firestore database as a new document within the jobs collection. So let's begin, and we will create a function in the app file, not in the Modal one, and I will explain you why. So let's create the function of post job that will receive the job details object as an argument, and we will make the request of saving it in the Firestore. And because it will be an asynchronous one, so let's add in the async keyword before the argument, so we can use the await as well, and await Firestore, and let's refer the collection from which we are fetching the jobs, and that is the jobs one. And basically we just need to add in a new document, and for that there is a method that we can use of add. So that what the add method will be doing is, you can pass in whatever data you need to save in the document, the new document, and it will be creating a new document over here which has the auto generated, or like the random ID, just like this one. And within that document we will be having the details, we will be having the data basically that we are passing in as an argument. So the thing is, like, we also need to add in a new field. Like if you check inside the modal, we can see that we have all the different fields, but we are missing out one, which is the posted on, and we are using the same field while we are actually fetching the data, fetching the jobs from the collection, and we are using in for the purpose of ordering it accordingly. So to add that field, let's pass in an object, and let's spread out the job details. So basically it's doing the exact same thing, but we are doing in such a manner so that we can add in or tag on a new field that is of posted on, and let's add the timestamp for that purpose. And to add in the timestamp, we won't be using the normal, like the JavaScript one, we won't be using this one, but the one that Firestore suggests, or the Firestore comes up with, the server timestamp basically. And for that, if we check the config file, which has all the configuration for our Firebase project, we are exporting the Firebase app as well, as you can see, and we need to import it where we are importing the Firestore, and we are already importing it over here, as you can see. And the main purpose is to use this one to refer the field value, and we will see that shortly. And basically it is app.firestore, and within the Firestore we need to refer the field value, and within the field value we have the server timestamp. I mean, this is a function that we need to kind of execute. So this basically means that it will create the server timestamp, and that timestamp would be the most precise one, the one that actually occurs, or the one at which timestamp the saving of the document occurs. So that might be a bit confusing, and you can look up what the server timestamp actually does. But for now, it is basically generating the timestamp in the server, and it will return back the same timestamp that we can format in the front end of our application. So that being said, let's just pass in this function to the modal as a prop, and let's just receive it over here. And the thing is, within this function, like within this modal, we also need to create a new function which actually calls in that the function that we receive as a prop. And the reason to that is to kind of handle the loading part. And this function, let's name it as handle submit, and it won't be receiving anything, and it basically just calls in that function, the one that we are receiving as a prop. And because this is an asynchronous one, we can use it, the async await over here as well. And we need to pass in the job details that we have as a state, and we need to call in this function when the user clicks on the button of post job, so of on click, and we need to call this function. So let's have a look of how it is. So let's add in all the details, and let's just select some skills as well. Skills. Okay, so now we have everything, and let's just post this job, and let's have a look. We can see that in our Firestore it is adding a document, and we have everything perfectly like getting saved. So that's perfect. And for the purpose of viewing it, what we will do is it's yet to be handled. For now, let's just comment this out so we can actually see all the jobs that are getting fetched. So yep, we are fetching the job that we just created or added in like as a document. So that is perfect. Now let's just work with let's just handle the rest of it, like the loading state and all. So within the modal, let's create a new state over here at the very top, and that state would be handling the loading of like when the user is actually posting the job. and it would be useState, and initially it would be false, and let's just use the state below, like where the button is, and we can use it. Firstly, let's disable the button. The button is basically disabled when the loading state is true, so that's obvious. And we also need to show that circular progress bar while it is actually saving, so we can do that by loading circular progress bar, so not circular progress, not bar, and we can give it a color of secondary so that we have that kind of like the darker one, and let's give it a size of 22, and like this will be displayed when the loading is actually true, but we can display the text of post job when it is not. So that is great. Now what we need to do is, one second, okay, I think I missed, okay, I need to import the component, so I think it's done. And now we need to change the loading state like when we actually create the job. So let's do that by, like when the user clicks on handle submit, let's change the state of to be true, but when the request is done, let's change it to false. And eventually we will be closing the modal when the user does, but let's just change it to false for now, and let's just do the same over here. And the other thing is, let's create a state for the modal as well, so that we can kind of display it conditionally, the modal that adds the job posting. And for that, what we can do is we can create a new state using the useState hook, and that hook will be having the value of false, and basically this state will be used to kind of display the modal, the dialog box that we have, and we can name it as new job modal or dialog, whatever you choose to go with, and set new job modal. And this field, if it is true, then we will be using the, like we will be binding this value with the open prop inside the dialog box, and we can just pass in this one over here, and we will be using this prop inside the dialog, and basically it will be used as a measure of like whether or not you want to open this dialog box or not, and we are receiving it as a prop. So let's just do the same, and we also need to pass in the function that changes, or like that allows to change the value of like the true and false. That depends upon like, and it basically allows the user to see the modal, and we can pass it to the header, because within the header we have that button, and we need to pass into the header so that user can open the modal. And we can do that same by open new job modal. Now this is like we are naming it as this, and what it will be doing is it will be a callback firstly, and we are using the same function to change the state, and let's just hard code as true. And what the header, like what the button will be doing is it will be calling this function which will be changing the state to be true, and because of that this modal will be displayed. And what we need to do is within the header component, let's just call the function that we are receiving from the prop as props.open job modal, and let's just save it over here, and let's have a look whether or not the modal is being displayed. And if I click on it, yep, it is, so that's great. And now let's just pass the same function for the which allows the modal to be conditionally because of which the modal is being displayed to the dialog box itself, because we need to use that in order to close it. So let's do the same thing, like let's use it inside, like let's pass it in the modal as a prop. It will be close modal. Let's just name it as close modal because that is kind of intuitive in itself, and it will be turning the value as false. And let's just use this function or the prop inside the modal when the user clicks on this button. So on click, props as close modal. So let's see how this works, but we will be actually changing this, but it's just for the purpose of like whether or not it is working. So let's have a look, and it does work. Like if you check, it does work fine, but we actually want to do something else. We want to kind of clear up the state. So because the reason to that is like if we make any change over here and we close it, now like visually like all it is not displaying, but however the state is being the state is still being persisted, and we need to clear the state when the user actually closes this modal. And for that purpose, let's create a new function below the handle submit one, close modal, and this modal will be changing the state of the set loading and the set job as well. And what we can do is we can take the entire object within the useState, and we can remove it over here, and just above it, like outside our component, let's add in the init state object. Now this is basically the same object that we are working with, and let's just use this object as the initial state for our useState hook. So that will work, like that will work the same thing, like it will be doing the same exact thing. And if we have a look, it's doing the same thing, like everything is working fine. But the thing is, when the user actually closes the modal, we need to kind of reset the values. And for that, what we can do is we can use the set job function, set job details function, and we can pass in the init state, because this state would be the same. Like we are not modifying, or we are not mutating the values of this state, but the state over here, the one which is getting passed, and the useState basically creates a new copy. So like throughout the entire life cycle of changing the different fields, we will be working with the object which is a clone of this one. So this still remains the same throughout, like it is only used once when the user, like when the component is loaded. So when we are closing, we are resetting it to the normal one, and we are changing the set loading to be false. And then we are calling the prop which we are passing in over here. So let's do the same, and let's call this function instead of the one we are getting, like the one we are getting from the props. And now when the user actually closes the modal, we will be resetting the values as well. So let's have a look, and let's make some changes. And if I click on this one and open this again, you can see the values got reset. So that's perfect. And now when the user actually submits the form, and we are making the submission, we are like posting the job over here, we are setting the set loading to be false. But instead what we can do is we can call this close modal function directly. So that that's going to do the same thing, like it has the set loading to be false, but the thing is, like after posting it will close the modal. So that's kind of what we intend to do. And after it is done, so we will have the state, like we will be like posting the job. And over here in the post job function, now let's do one thing. Let's call the function like the post fetch jobs again. So like after it has been posted, let's call the function of fetch jobs, so that we get the fresh collection, like a fresh pair of collection, and fetch jobs. And let's have a look like how everything is working. And if I post a job and fill in the details and check in some skills, and let me just post it right now, as you can see that loading is working, and now we just refetched the entire collection. So that is perfect. Now we are able to create, like post new jobs, which is creating new document, as you can see, and we are also able to like display them over here, like on the front end. So that is perfect. And in the next video, let's just finish it off like with the filtering one, making the custom search, as well as the check button, which allows the user to view the more details about the job in a modal basically. So see you then.